Okay, good morning everyone. Today we are going to go through and do a Circle Wars tutorial. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by deleting my cat sprite and I'm going to start a new sprite. So I'm going to come down to choose a sprite and paint a new one. I'm going to click on the circle and draw it over my center point. If I hold down shift, it will keep it as a perfect circle for me. Now what I need to do now is make sure the middle of the purple sprite goes over the top of that black bit, and you can see it just locks into place there. And I can pick what color I want. Now this will be my main player, so I'm going to make it a nice blue color, and I'm going to come up to my sprite and name it player. Now I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this sprite for my next character, and that way it's going to be the exact same size, but I'm going to name this one enemy. This will be what I'm running away from, so instead of blue, I'm going to make it red. Oops, pink. Okay. And then I'm going to duplicate it one more time. 2-finger click, duplicate. And I'm going to make this one green. And call this one here friend. So the way the game is going to work is I'm going to use my mouse pointer to move my player around and try and collect the green friend balls and try and stay away from the big red ones. So let's start by going to player. I'm going to get a green flag block, and I'm going to get a go to mouse pointer block, go to random position, change to mouse pointer, and I'm going to get a forever block. So this way, when I press my green flag, it's going to follow my mouse around on my screen. Okay, I'm going to head over to my enemy now, and I'm going to get a green flag block. And what I want for the green and red blocks to do is just to randomly move around the screen. And as they move around the screen, they're going to make clones, and the clones are going to follow the player. So I'm going to get a point in direction block. So point in direction, and I want it to randomly pick where it's going. So if I go to operators, there is a pick random block that I can use, and negative 180, positive 180 will be a circle. So it can pick any direction in a circle. And then I'm going to have it move forward and repeat going forward. And then if it hits the edge, bounce back. And it's going to then pick a new direction, and it's going to repeat that over and over again. So let's head into control. I'm going to repeat 25 times, move 10 steps, and if on edge, bounce. So this way, if it is still repeating, it's moving 10 steps and it hits a wall, it's going to bounce back. And then it will create a clone of itself. So it's the clones that we're going to try and touch. Last thing we need around these is my forever block. So that way it's going to continually do this. Now I'm not going to test my code yet because I need to make sure I tell the clones what they're going to do when they start. So I'm going to have to get the hat block for when I start as a clone and get set ghost effect. So this is going to mean that the clones that get created are going to be slightly lighter in color, and it makes it a little bit easier to see what I need to collect. So instead of set color effect, I'm going to change it to set ghost effect to 50. And then I'm going to grab my repeat block, and I'm going to repeat the clone pointing towards the player, which is the blue character. So point towards player, and it's going to move one step. So it's going to continually check after every step that if it's going to be touching the player or not. So I need to get my if then block under here, and if touching player. So touching, change to player, and I'm going to play a little sound. So obviously I've got two options. If the enemy touches the player, it's a negative consequence. I'm going to get a bad sound. And if I touch the friend, I'm going to have a different sound. So if I had two sounds, the sound I want to use is symbol. So let's go to start sound symbol. And I want to use start sound instead of play sound until done, because if it was play sound until done, it would not run any more code while it's playing the rest of that song. And then I'm going to delete the clone. And then after I've repeated that, and I'm going to change it to 300 times, I'm going to delete the clone, because otherwise it'll be a bit too many. So let's check this out. So you can see the red characters moving anywhere around the screen, just dropping the red balls everywhere. They're going to be following my player around, and if I touch it, it plays the negative sound. I will go ahead and do scores at the end. Okay, now I want the code that I've just created on my friend. So rather than making it again, I just can click my top block and drag it down to friend, let go, and I'll do the same for this block as well. See it wriggle? And I know it's going to copy. So now I've got those two blocks here also on my friend. Now the part that's going to be different for this one is I'm going to have a different sound. So I'm just going to change it to pop, and then we'll do our scores. Okay, beautiful. So now we're going to head over to variables, and we're going to create two. We're going to create score for all sprites, and we're going to make another one called high score for all sprites. So we're going to make sure that every time we start our game, the score resets. So we're going to get set score to 0 on our main player, and that way it's going to always reset back to 0. On the enemy, we're going to have it lose a point when it gets touched. So change score will go in here. And you can choose how much you want to lose. Now, I really don't want them to get touched, so I'm going to make them lose 2 points if they touch the enemy. And if they get to touch the friend, they can get 1 point. Now, make sure it's on your score variable. So this should have been score. And then what I'm going to do on my player is do code that keeps a high score. So no matter how many times we play, we keep a bit of a high score registry. So going to get green flag, going to get my forever block, and an if block. And when I head to operators, I'm going to get the crocodile mouth eating the 50, so the one in the middle. And head to variables, high score, score. So the way this is going to read is that it's going to forever check that if the score is greater than the high score, it's going to change the high score. So set high score to score. So it's going to automatically update that for me. So you can see the high score is going to update. Anytime I stop and restart, the high score will stay there. Thanks for following.